We have a special lesson tonight. And this is, every week, I think, boy, this is the best. It's by in the credit of the Lighthouse and the credit of the people and the credit of you and our learning together. And it's like a big game, fired up because it's empowering. And when I feel like giving this lesson, I may sound like a coach sending you on the field, okay? And that's it. Why? Because there's one thing that I want to chastise for you. I love every one of you, know that. And your worst evil inclination is not what you think it is. It's not what, oh, this and that, the cell phones and the schmutz and no, that's not. Your worst evil inclination is that you think you're not good enough. You think you're not good enough. And I think you're the best person on earth. Okay, and I can prove it to you. Prove it to you by Torah, prove it to you analytically. You're the best person. That's what you're going to learn tonight, that you're the best person on earth. What? I'm going to tell you what the Torah says about you, not what Western society says about you. So with Hashem's loving grace, tonight's lesson is entitled Far from the Fanfare. Far from the Fanfare. You think if someone is, advertised and people do things not because of what they're supposed to, because of what the neighbors will think and what their peers will think and what this one will think, and they put a good face forward and scratch away the surface of all this with people that on the Instagram and the Facebook and all the pictures they put forward with the plastic smiles on their face. What's underneath? What's on the inside? What's going on in the inner dimension? This is what people forget about. They worry about the facade. It's like somebody building a building and just worry about the facade, and that's what's going on inside because they want what the neighbors will think. Well, how about worry about your own living comfort? You're making life good for yourself. And I'll tell you a story. This is tongue-in-cheek. There was I call my spiritual Zaidi, Rabbi Yankele Galinsky. Rabbi Yankele Galinsky was mashgiach. He was a magid in Eretz Yisrael, and he wasn't a chassid. He was a Litvish magid. He was a Novardiker, and they call the Novardikers the Litvish Breslovers. They're very, very similar. Okay, but Rabbi Yankele, he reminded me exactly like my Zaidi Gamliel from Grodno, from the old country. And even before I made tshuva, I used to go and listen to him. I loved him because he reminded me of my grandfather. Okay, and even after I made tshuva, Baruch Hashem, Rabbi Yankele Galinsky passed away a couple of years ago. He told a story, and he used to tell this really sharp musar, sharp ethics with a smile on his face. So he was in the mashgiach at the Itri Yeshiva in Hadera. Hadera is halfway between Tel Aviv and Haifa. And one afternoon, a nice, beautiful afternoon like this, he was taking a walk. And he walked by there's a fancy neighborhood of what they call in Eretz Yisrael villas. Most people in Eretz Yisrael live in condominiums, apartment buildings. But it's a villa where people build houses on a third dunam, quarter dunam, third dunam in Eretz Yisrael. This is yokrati. This is prestige. You've got your own house on your own 1/3 of a dunam. You'd have 1/3 of a dunam. This is maybe about less than a quarter of an acre. Okay, so he's walking by and he sees the homeowner arguing with the building contractor. And he says, "What is the fence? What kind of facade?" Well, the contractor says, "Okay, I'm going to put, Eretz Yisrael flagstone." He says, "I don't want flagstone. I want marble." He said, "What are you, crazy? You know how much you cut the whole side of your building with marble? What do you want to look like? You think it's the base of Mikdash?" They argue back and forth. He says, "No, this is beautiful. I spent a lot of money on my house. I want to put marble, flagstone. Nobody does marble on the outside." Here's them arguing. And he says, "Well, okay, so they get you marble." He says, "I'll get you Hebron marble. Hebron marble is white and gray." He says, "I don't want Hebron marble. I want Golan marble. It's pink marble." And they're arguing about what color the marble. Rabbi Yankele Galinsky's walking by. Here's his argument. He says, "I suggest something else." He said, "Instead of white marble or pink marble, why not get marble with red and green stripes on it?" Hey, look at him, old man. What are you mixing in for? He says, "What are you mixing in? It's my decision." "What do you mean it's my decision? This is my house." And the contractor says, "I'm the contractor building." He says, "No, but you don't understand. The both of you are doing this for me. You're not going to see when you're living out the outside of the house. You're doing this for me, the passersby, that I should see what a great house you live." He says, "I like marble with red and green stripes." Yankele Galinsky. So he said this in a shmooze. They said to show this is to show a point where people are arguing about things that doesn't even affect their lives, and they're saying, that this one that I don't know what the girl she spent it all half a month's salary on a Lada handbag or a Praga handbag or whatever it's called, and just so other people should see the handbag, and people walk with their labels outside their shirts and see what kind of shirt they wear. What does this do for your personality? What does this do for your happiness in life? Nothing. That people, when they buy clothes, they don't see what looks good. What's the neighbor going to think? Who cares? Do for dress for your comfort, dress for your health, dress for whatever. But it's all the thing. And why? This is Western, not education, but in psychology, they call it conditioning, Western conditioning. You're so bashed with the media and this and that. You got to look good. You got to have this, and you got to shave with Gillette and drive a Mercedes and do this and do that. And whatever they advertise on the Super Bowl commercials. Okay, people, they just make their own thing. So why is that? They think that the more popular a person is, the more acclaimed is, more fame is, this is success. Not necessarily. Let's take a look at what the Torah says. Let's look at this week's Parsha, Bahalutcha. Okay, right in the beginning of the Parsha. Last week's Parsha, to remind you, at the end of the Parsha in Nasa, there was the consecration and dedication of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Every day, the 12 days of consecration, there was a different tribal head who gave his sacrifice, starting with Nachshon ben Aminadav, the president of the tribe of Judah, and then each successful tribe, the 12 tribes. Ephraim and Manasseh, the two sons of Joseph, are considered separate tribes. So really there's 13 with Levi. But Levi wasn't allowed to give a sacrifice, to give a gift. Okay. So then Aaron, afterwards, this is where he's left out. He's completely left out. He did not take part in the dedication, the consecration of the tabernacle. Afterward, he's going to do all the work. We'll soon see. Okay, but if I would describe the Torah, this is something I love to do. My Torah lessons. I take a Gemara in modern day terms so people can understand it. If I would take the Parsha in modern day terms, you can imagine every day the consecration of the tabernacle. You've got Fox News there, you've got CNN, you've got all the cable TV and Netflix and who else, everybody else. And you've just like you have a combination of Mundial, if you're a soccer fan, and the rest of the world calls it football, America calls it soccer. Combination of the World Series, Mundial, and the Super Bowl. You've got 40 million viewers around the world, everybody. Nachshon ben Aminadav. Why is he popular? He's the number one president. He's the president of the tribe of Judah. And now he comes and he brings his kalat kesef. He brings his silver goblet of 130 shekels. And then he brings this golden spoon that's 10 shekels of gold. And he brings all these animals. And every day, a different one. And every day, the people, they say, now Nachshon ben Aminadav. 30 million people around the world, 40 million people around the world. Yearn and cheering like they do in Argentina. When Argentina scores a goal against the UK, Argentina goal, and everybody's a goal. Trevor, and if you're a fan of the tribe of Judah, or remember the tribe of Judah, boy, you're reeling like crazy. And then there comes Gamliel ben Pedetsur from the tribe of Manasseh. And if you're a Manasseh, now you're going crazy on a different day. But every day around the world. And it publicized in all the media, and everybody's got it in Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. Hash, Nachshon ben Aminadav, hash, tribe of Judah. This is the hashtags. Okay, this is what it says. Trending today, tribe of Judah. So here you go. And looks at if you look in your Facebook statistics, so you can see Facebook Live, the dedication of the Holy Temple. 30,575,454 views. Oh, this is a super success. This is super success. This is definitely, and then what's it going to be for the advertisers? If there's ever a consecration again, then they're going to pay $1 million for 1 second of advertising. Oh, this success in America. Okay. Now comes this week's Parsha. That all the pomp, the 12 days of pomp, the 12 days of balagan and chaos and mundial and gold, and it's all over. Now, very quietly, Hashem says to Aaron, he says, Aaron, I want you to go inside all by yourself. No camera allowed, no TV, no correspondence, no nothing. I want you to go in the Holy of Holies, and I want you to light the menorah. Hashem whispers this to Aaron. Rashi tells us that Aaron, Rashi says that the words of Rashi, Chalisha Zadat, that Aaron, he was faint. He says, what, Hashem, look at my counterparts. I'm the head of the Levim. I'm the Kohen. The Kohanim, they come from the Levim. Aaron was the head of the Levim. Okay. And all the other tribes, this is what our tribe gets. And Aaron, he wasn't selfish, but he's worried about his tribe. So the Midrash tells us that Hashem says to Aaron, Chayecha shulcha yoter gadol. Aaron, your portion is bigger. So look at this with American eyes. What's Hashem telling Aaron? What do you mean your portion is bigger? Here they have 30 million, 40 million viewers. And now you tell Aaron quietly, no cameras, no nothing, maybe a little snippet in the back page of tomorrow's New York Times and LA Journal that Aaron lit the menorah in the Holy of Holies. What's going on here? What's going on here? What's Hashem telling us? Hashem is telling us that Torah's values are the exact opposite of modern values, secular values. Hashem's teaching Aaron a big lesson. Hashem says, look, Aaron, you have to understand 3 points in Judaism. And these are the 3 points that we're going to learn tonight. And Hashem says, first of all, greatness is far away from the fanfare. That's what we call tonight's shiur, far from the fanfare. If you saw the poster, far from the fanfare. Greatness is far from the fanfare. And this is, Hosea the prophet says, Hatzneh lechet im Hashem Elokecha, that we should be modest with Hashem. Modest means that I don't call attention to myself. I call attention to Hashem. Well, I publish Hashem all day long. Talk about Hashem all day long. Why? Here's the lighthouse and lighthouse spends whatever money they could get hands on to publish Hashem's name, and we're all out to publish Hashem. Personally, no, not a word. Hashem, it's all Hashem. This is our job. So this is what Hashem telling Aaron. He says, your job and your success is not the publicity you get. That's number one. Number two, it's perseverance that makes you great. What does Hashem tell Aaron? Who ever heard of the 12 tribal presidents other than the consecration of the Holy Temple? Okay, Nachshon, he was the first. We know about Nachshon because Nachshon was the first one to jump in the Red Sea before the Red Sea split. He didn't know how to swim, okay, but he said, dedicate himself completely to Hashem. Moisel Nefesh, he dedicated himself completely to Hashem. Okay, so since he was the first one to jump in, he became the first president to make the sacrificial offering in the consecration of the Holy Temple, of the tabernacle. Okay, but other than Nachshon ben Aminadab, you ever heard of Gamliel ben Pedazur? Nobody ever heard it. How many, nobody ever heard of it. So we see Aaron's job in the Holy of Holies, where no one else is allowed to enter the Holy of Holies, only the high priest. Okay, Aaron's job is forever. If the Holy Temple would not be destroyed, then keep on going forever. When it comes back, it's going to be every single day. And that's what was in the first temple and the second temple. So we learn from this that a mitzvah that is done in a perseverant fashion is much greater than a one-time shot. In other words, it's much more difficult to live your life on Kiddush Hashem than it is to give away your life on Kiddush Hashem. Many people have died on Kiddush Hashem. But the greater thing than dying in sanctification of Hashem's name, well, in one moment, the person is threatened, okay, either you bow down to idols, you get a bullet in your head. Okay, so for one moment, he gets courage, doesn't do it. But we'll have people that are sanctifying Hashem all their lives. This is what Aaron did. Okay, so the first lesson, we said greatness is far from the fanfare. It's in Judaism, and it's the exact opposite of modern society. The second lesson is perseverance makes you great, and not just one-time greatness. In other words, if imagine a person in baseball terms, American terms, a guy won the batting title 1 year and he won 350, And then all the other years he hit 220. No, it's not 1 year of greatness, but every single year, keep on persevering, dependable. And the third thing, and this point I want to bring home for every single one of you, beloved brothers and sisters, every single one of you. And I'm not going to let you go on this one. Many times, Hashem puts a person in a situation where he doesn't have a head start, has the opposite. Okay, he's got some type of handicap in life. He's underprivileged in some way. He comes from a poor family. He comes from he's got some difficulties. Doesn't have a silver spoon. It's the opposite silver spoon. It's an iron spoon. An iron spoon. It's an old iron spoon. Exact opposite of a silver spoon. Okay. Why does Hashem do that? Let me ask yourself, why does Hashem difficulties? You knock yourself down for your difficulties. And I got you're there to make it a living for your family, and you wonder how come you're not some person that knocked down $23 million in a startup company, and you're a woman, you look at other woman, she's much a successful homemaker than I am, or she runs a family and she's got a career and she's a lawyer. Now I barely run a family when I didn't go to all types of stuff. You don't think you're good enough. You don't think you're good enough. If you think you're not good enough, you know what that says? It says Hashem is not good enough. Because Hashem created you for greatness. There is not a single one of you that is not meant for greatness. You can prove it. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to get there. Okay? We'll get there. Just be with us. This is what we're going to learn tonight. How every single one of you is for greatness. All right? And I don't want to hear anybody saying, oh, I'm a loser. I'm this. I hear this all the time. Yeah, yesterday I spoke to someone, and someone had a difficulty in life. It's difficult for them. So I said, loser. I said, what are you, a loser? Guess what? I fought the same difficulty 48 hours ago. He says, oh, you can't think in his praying. It's the same exact problem 48 hours ago. Where you lazy? What do you do? Where were you? Where's your head? Where's your head? Can't think. And we all have to do. This is part of the war. It's not easy. We have every single one of us, every single day is fighting a Jacob's angel. But it's not a Jacob's angel. It's Michael's angel. It's David's angel. It's Vivian's angel. It's Rena's angel. It's Rivka's angel. You fight every single day. And it's pitch battle. Because that angel is just as strong as you are and a little bit stronger to make you fight even harder. Because if it were easy, that's not what Hashem wants. Okay, and Hashem has nachas from this fight. So we see with Aaron and the presidents, the menorah, it was stashed way inside the Holy of Holies, the tent meeting, and far away from the public eye and far away from the crowd and far away from applause and no millions of people cheering for him. Okay, there's intimacy with Hashem. There is no greater success in life than attaining intimacy with Hashem. Now, what does that intimacy with Hashem do? The Gemara in Yoma tells us that Aaron's work in the Holy of Holies, listen to this, Aaron's work in the Holy of Holies, it was a kapara, it was a absolution for all the Jewish people, an atonement for all the sins of all the Jewish people. So how could Aaron atone for all the Jewish people, sins for all Jewish people? It say he was so sensitive to everyone, he felt everyone's pain. And the pain, if we learn the Sefer Haredim, he was Rabbi Lazer Brody. He wrote the Yedid Nefesh. He wrote the book Sefer Haredim. And the Sefer Haredim shows how each one of the 613 mitzvahs corresponds to one of the 613 parts of the body. So when Aaron felt a pain in his pinky finger, he knew that the Jewish people messed up in this mitzvah. And when he felt the pain, he knew the Jewish people messed up in that mitzvah. He could atone for every one of them. And this is why, because he was far away from the fanfare and close to Hashem, and he didn't look at what people said about him, and he didn't look what people did. He wasn't looking at, how many likes he got, and how many things. This did not matter to him. It did not matter. Even in the golden calf, when Aaron took it on the noggin, Moses gave it to him, really gave it to him. Aaron, he didn't want to do the gold calf. He was trying to save the Jewish people. He was trying to buy time for the Jewish people. Aaron sacrificed himself for everyone. The Midrash tells us, the Torah says it too, when Aaron died, people mourned for him more than they did for Moses because he loved every single human. He made peace between two fellow men fighting and between a man and a woman. He was such a peacemaker. He was so good. So lesson number one that we're learning tonight, we're going to learn one by one and go on, is that Hashem is teaching us that it's not public recognition and prestige that makes you a success. When you get up after 120 years in the earth and you get to the heavenly court, they're not going to ask you how much prestige you had, how much public recognition you had, how high your salary was, how many friends on Facebook you had, how many likes you got, or how popular your Instagram site was. No, these are not questions that are going to be asked upstairs. They're going to be asked, how come you didn't attain your greatness? He said, what, me? My greatness? I said, yeah, your greatness. Do you think that Hashem creates a creation for nothing? Hashem puts you on the earth because you have the ability to save all humanity, like Aaron Cohen. Aaron Cohen Gadol did. The Midrash tells us that every one of us could do. The Gemara tells us everyone could do. I'm sure plenty of places. Okay, so it's not the statistics and the popularity and the public eye. It's far from the fanfare. And we'll see this time and again. Okay, so the second lesson we learned is that the power of perseverance. It's not the one guy that gave $1 million and he built a new mikveh. How about somebody that every day puts aside his mice, every day puts aside $5, $10 to stock every single day. There's something about perseverance. People think, oh, this guy's a great Talmid Chacham. So the tremendous Talmid Chacham. Tell you a story about a retired cab driver whom I knew about 20 years ago. If you know, in Jerusalem, there on Strauss number 10, there's a store called the Sofer. And this is my good friend, Rabbi Moshe Flumenbaum. He owns his store. We had this retired cab driver from Brooklyn. His name was Hanina. And Hanina was there. He would do the computer operator. He would put mezuzahs in the computer, have them checked and this and that. He was retired. He wasn't driving a cab anymore. Okay. Hanina studied Daf Yomi for 56 years. Hanina, a retired cab driver, he finished Shas, he finished all of Gemara 8 times. We're not talking about a Rosh Yeshiva. We're not talking about a Magid Shur. We're not talking about a Rosh Yeshiva's son. We're not talking about a Rebbe's son. We're not talking about a Rebbe. We're talking about a cab driver from Brooklyn. For 56 years, rain and shine, he did not miss a day of Daf Yomi. Okay, I haven't seen Hanina in 20 years. 20 years ago, he was 84 or 85. I think Hanina's probably way up in the pearly portals with Rashi and the Rambam right now, but I'm sure he's up there. Who can say something like that? We're talking about a retired cab driver from Brooklyn. He came to Eretz Yisrael and lived in Jerusalem, and he would work in the afternoon, with a little bit of work or computer checking for mezuzahs and this and that. He would do the Xerox copy of the mezuzahs that would go into the computer program. Okay, it's a nice gentleman, really nice guy. 56 years Daf Yomi. This in Judaism is a hero. This in Judaism, who knows how many soldiers on a Lebanese border lives were saved because of Hanina's Torah? Nobody knows. And you see people with fancy cloaks and highbrows, and they can't, in the next world, they can't even get close to Hanina. It's the perseverance that makes you great. It's not that you're born and a person's got a 135 IQ and he can learn Shulchan Aruch one time and he knows Choshen Mishpat by heart. No, it's the perseverance. That's what makes you great. And when you stick to it, that's what makes you great. Anybody that I know who's successful, really successful, truly successful, inside successful in anything, it's they got the ratzon, the desire, and the perseverance. It's not your talent, and it's not your power, and it's not your native skills. Wherever, my own personal life, everywhere I ever studied, whether it was in University of Maryland or whether it was in Rabbinical Kollel Dei Torah, everybody was smarter than me. In our class Dei Torah, we had 13 guys in my graduating class. One guy was from Harvard Law. One guy had an MBA from Wharton. One guy here, Lazer, in Cal College. Lazer had an agriculture degree from Maryland. But they're all brilliant. Okay. But most of them, by Western standards, okay, I don't know, very special guys, but nothing notable, nothing earth-shaking. But you stick to it. In the Army, in my unit, I was the weakest guy in the unit. I was the weakest guy in the unit. But when we would go on marches and this and that, I had the biggest heart. I'd keep on going, just keep on going. Even I didn't have, my legs gave up long ago. My lungs gave up long ago. I didn't care, just keep on going. I had the desire, and it's the desire. And then the big guys that could, in a bar fight, they could finish me off in 2 seconds. They were falling. Keep going. It's the perseverance. You see this whatever you do. It's a perseverance. So I tell people, take whatever you have and just keep at it. Keep at it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Whether it's a woman, she cried to me, Rabbi, Hashem doesn't want my challah. I said, what do you mean Hashem doesn't want your challahs? I tried baking challahs 4 times in a row and they flopped. Hashem doesn't want my challahs. I said, okay, so try 5 times in a row. Okay? And they go, the 5th time she succeeded. Okay, but imagine she gave up. And then this woman became the best baker in town. Okay, what if she would have given up after 4 times? They would show her. You know what Gehenna is? Gehenna is not the fires, the burning fires. You know what those fires are? Those fires are in your face. You know what happens in Shemaim? I'll tell this in modern. What happens when a person, this is from the Gesher Chaim. It's not the Gesher Chaim, but when I'm using it in modern terms. Gesher Chaim was Rav Tukachinsky. He wrote a 3-volume book about what happens about mourning, what happens after the funeral, what happens after the neshama leaves. And if you can imagine that when a neshama goes up into the heavenly court, it's sitting in a chair and it's tied, and it's like you see a dark theater and all the neshamas are out there, your parents, your grandparents, people you knew, and on the balcony is the Beis Din, which were also rabbis who lived in your generation that know what the tests of this generation are. You're not judged by people from the time of the Rambam, and not by people at the time of going to Vilna, but people around. For example, someone, a dream, had a clinical death, and he saw Rebbe Vadia. He said, Rebbe Vadia Yosef. On the Beis Din, this is who Rebbe Vadia Yosef, Rav Vosner, they're the ones sitting on the Beis Din Shamala. People saw this in dreams. Okay. They show you 2 movies. They show you a movie of your life. That's pretty embarrassing when you see little intimate things that you didn't do tshuva for. If you did tshuva, they get cleaned up. When you see the tiny little things you think nobody ever knew about, the things way behind closed doors, wow. And your grandparents see it, and your rebbeim see it. Oh, who is that? That's really scary. But that's not bad. As bad as the second movie. The first movie shows you what you did with your life. The second movie is even more embarrassing. It shows you what you could have done with your life. If you ask yourself what Hashem wants from you and not what the guys want from you, the girls or the neighbors or Facebook or Instagram or anything else. When you look far from the fanfare and go like Aharon did in the Holy of Holies and light the candles. You know what those candles are? King Solomon says, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. That candle is your neshama. And you light your neshama. You don't light somebody else's neshama, you light your neshama. So what happens is that people are busy trying to be people pleasers and trying to publicize themselves and do things so that people say, oh, that's nice. And they worry about the car they buy and the house they buy and this they buy. You know what happens to people pleasers? They're so busy trying to please others that they don't cultivate their own neshamas. They don't complete their mission on earth. And that's what they show in the second movie. Wow, 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 wow. And the neshama cries out, let me go back down. No, it's too late. So we're having this lesson, so it's not too late. I'm going to stop and reassess what are we doing with our lives? Am I cultivating myself? Am I living my life for myself? There comes a time we have to do bold things. What's the great thing about Corona? Okay, people are, boom, time out. People are laid off of work. Why is Hashem doing that? Hashem is a loving father. Hashem's not cruel. Why is Hashem laying you off? Maybe Hashem wants you to reassess. Maybe Hashem wants you to consider doing something else that you haven't done. Maybe in running after money. Oh, my son, it's time to set aside time for Torah, Daf Yomi. Oh, my daughter, the kids are home. Oh, no time to go gossip with the girlfriends. Ooh, maybe it's time to read a book to the kids, that they won't wear a key around their neck and educate themselves. Maybe it's time for mom to educate the kids, spend more time with the kids. Maybe it's time for mom and dad. Look, Hashem put you under the chuppah together. Maybe it's time for mom and dad to spend more time with each other. All types of things. Hashem is doing it for the best because this is what Hashem had to do to go to extremes to give us this wake-up call. So sometimes Hashem brings us way low in order to pick us up, but there's a deeper secret. There's a deeper secret. If somebody his father was the head of the Chase Manhattan Bank, or your father's last name is Rockefeller or Rothschild or Reichman, okay. So what's the big deal? You make a lot of money, you're successful in business. They say the kid's a silver spoon kid, he got it all from his dad. What is the Kiddush Hashem when you got a poor kid and the poor kid grows up in poverty and he says, I got to get out of this poverty, got to do something. So he gets a secondhand bicycle, he works for it, packs groceries, shovels snow, breaks leaves, does everything, gets a secondhand bicycle, and he starts delivering newspapers. So he delivers newspapers, saves a couple of pennies, and he starts selling chewing gum. And he does that and does a few other things, and he makes a little corner stand, and the corner stand a kiosk, and the kiosk comes to 3 kiosks. Okay, so he ends up buying his supplier, buying his candy supplier. Now becomes candy supplier, and he's got 10 kiosks all over town. He becomes this great big magnate, and he built himself up from nothing. Oh, everybody says this is a self-made man. This is fantastic. Okay, if we appreciate a self-made individual, self-made man, or a self-made woman in material areas, what about a self-made individual in spiritual? When your father wasn't a Rosh Hashiva, when your mother wasn't the daughter of a Rebbe, maybe your parents didn't even keep Shabbos or eat kosher, and you discover Hashem and you build yourself up and you educate your kids to it. This is a self-made person coming from nothing. Do you want to know something? When you sell yourself short and you think I'm not good enough because you look at the person, you look at the highbrow, you look at the Rosh Hashiva, and you look at the Rebbe, and you look at this one and that one, and this one's on the Knesset, this one's for Agudas. You say, come on, no way. You're better than they are. You're better than they are. I will shoot. I'm going to prove it to you right now. Prove it to you. I will tell you a story right out of the Yerushalmi Gemara. Few people learn Yerushalmi Gemara. That's the Gemara of land of Israel. And people outside there, everybody prefers the Babylonian Gemara. Well, yeah, we learn Daf Yomi is the Babylonian Gemara. And they say Ikar Babylonian. But if you're in Eretz Yisrael, you have to learn Yerushalmi. And if you prepare yourself for Eretz Yisrael, all the laws, the agricultural laws and the laws of Trumas and Meisters, all the mitzvahs in Eretz Yisrael that nobody even pays attention to. You don't pay attention about what kind of peach you eat in London or in Miami. You don't pay attention. You don't pay attention whether the tomato you buy in LA or in Chicago, it's been taken Meiser off or it's Tevel or not. You don't pay attention to that. Even Chodesh, okay? People really, there might be on Chodesh in America. Eretz Yisrael, nobody go near it. Nobody goes near it. Different things. All these laws are in Yerushalmi. Okay, the agricultural laws. And even the agricultural Masechtas from Zeraim, from the first order, from the first order of Shas, it's not even in the Babylonian. It's not in Babylon. I'm going to open up Tractate Tani in the Yerushalmi. You're going to open up to page 5A, 5B, excuse me, 5B. And I'm going to tell you a story about Pentateuch. Now, if you think you've got a tough life, and if you think you've got a disadvantage, and if you think you don't have enough money, and if you think you don't have enough education, and if you don't think you don't have enough yichus, or people turn up their nose, the eyebrows turn up their nose at you, get the eyebrows. You know what happens to a high nose? The higher a person's nose is, that's the lowest. We say it every day in Shemai, so Shem has to bring it down. Okay, so don't be a highbrow and don't be a high nose. And don't let anybody, you have to know, you are the best person in the world, because nobody in the world can do what you do. And to say that anyone can do what you do means that Hashem created for nothing, and Hashem doesn't do things for nothing. Hashem doesn't do anything for nothing. Okay. Hashem created Pentateuch. Let me tell you about Pentateuch. This was in the beginning of the third century of the end of the second, beginning of the third century of the Christian era in Eretz Yisrael. And the head rabbi in Eretz Yisrael was named Rabbi Abahu, A-B-A-H-U, Rabbi Abahu. There was a terrible drought in Eretz Yisrael, and this drought was as bad as it was in the days of King Ahab and Eliyahu. 3 years, no water. And if there doesn't be some rain soon, then you're in trouble. Not anything to drink, but again, the wheat crop, nothing, there won't be anything to eat. So here, Am Yisrael is looking down the pipe of stern judgment. Something that's very similar to now. Right now, Eretz Yisrael is really nervous because we had a couple of days, a week, of like no new cases of coronavirus, virtually no new cases, no deaths, and then all of a sudden, overnight, one day 109, one day 120, and nobody knows whether it's a second round or not coming back up, and people are really nervous. But no, it's something, it's existential, and nobody knows what the future is because there's so many new things about that virus. I don't go into it. The whole lecture about the coronavirus, that's a new thing. Now it's been discovered that it's a vascular virus and now a respiratory virus, and it's fooling the doctors, it's fooling physicians. Who's that? That's Hashem. Because a couple of weeks ago, the doctors in Israel said, oh, Israeli medicine defeated coronavirus. Hashem says, oh yeah, guys? Okay. And I heard that on the news. I cringed. Uh-oh. Don't say things like that. Even the prime minister has learned this week to say, Bezrat Hashem. First, Bezrat Hashem, with Hashem's help. Nothing goes on without Hashem. He alone did, does, and will do. That's our first principle. Let's get back to Pentateuch. Okay. Rabbi Abahu had a dream. And from Shemayim, they came to him in a dream. And they said, if you want to end the drought, you need a blessing from Pentateuch. You, as the head rabbi of Israel, get a blessing from Pentateuch. He woke up and he summoned his students. He says, does anybody know anybody here in Yerushalayim named Pentateuch? I don't think anybody heard of it. Some Greek, Roman name, Greco-Roman name. So he said to his students, go find Pentateuch. They looked all over. They went to every shul and to every study hall in Yerushalayim, no Pentateuch. They came back, Rebbe, we can't find Pentateuch. He said, go all over Israel, find Pentateuch. They don't lie in Shemayim. And you knew this dream was very real. They went from the Galilee to the Negev, could not find Pentateuch. There was one place left that they didn't go. Yaffo, the port town of Yaffo. Now, back then, it was the time of the Roman occupation, Eretz Yisrael. Yaffo, at the time of the Romans, is something equivalent to, say, Marseille in France, if you understand what I'm talking about. Or, like the red light district in Amsterdam, if you understand what I'm talking about. We have all these foreign soldiers there, and this is where homeless girls and girls with no ways of living, that they flock to Yaffo. That was Jaffa back then. It was a port town. And it was controlled by the Romans. The Romans had two ports, one in Caesarea and one in Jaffa, okay, which is today's South Tel Aviv. Okay, so they can't find it, but this is the last place to look in Eretz Yisrael. So they started looking all over. They went to every synagogue in Jaffa. Nobody heard of Pentateuch. They went to every study hall. Nobody heard of him. They said, what are we going to do? And there was two emissaries, Rabbi Lazer, two of his students dressed in rabbinical garb. And they said, one part of town we haven't been there. That part. But the Rebbe sent us to that part of town, by the Namal, by the port, where the soldiers are, where the district with the night girls are. Well, fine. They went there and they said to a passerby, is there a Pentateuch in this neighborhood? He said, yes, but he looked at him. They were during the two Yerushalmi rabbinical cloaks. And they said, you sure you want Pentateuch? He says, yes, we want Pentateuch. We're looking all over Israel for him. He said, you sure? He said, yes, we're sure. So they sent them to that street with the red lights. That street. He said, you'll find Pentateuch at the end of the street. Go at the end of the street, the last house on the left, you'll find it there. They go and they see where they are. And they're really embarrassed. Their faces are on fire. Well, if anybody sees us in this neighborhood, we're in trouble. But they knock on the door. And this little old man, shabby little old man, didn't smell particularly good. He answered the door. And they say, you Pentateuch? He says, yes, I'm Pentateuch. And he says, what do you want? He says, well, we are Rabbi Abau. You ever heard of Rabbi Abau? He says, everybody's heard of Rabbi Abau. He's the head rabbi of Eretz Yisrael. He says, he sent us to get a blessing from you. He says, a blessing from me? He says, do you know who I am? He says, I was orphaned at 8 years old. I didn't have money. I didn't have food. The madam of this establishment took me in so that I would clean the floors and wash the girls' linens. And I said, what? The lowest of the low of the low, a janitor of a brothel in the worst neighborhood in the land of Israel, 3rd century Romans, and the head rabbi of Israel sends them to get a bracha from him. So he had a tear in his eye. He says, Rabbi, I take a lot of abuse, a lot of ridicule in life. He said, did you come all the way from Jerusalem to make fun of me? He said, I don't need that. I said, heaven forbid, Mr. Pentateuch. No, we really do. And he said, well, you must have done something good in your life. He says, me? I told you what I do. I told you what I do. Well, you must be something good. He says, yeah, well, I do good. He says, the girls don't have it easy here. And what I do is I dance for them and I play on my drum and on my fiddle to cheer them up. And he said, no. You've done something more than that. Stop and think. What have you done? Oh, so he says, oh, that. Maybe. What do you mean, oh, that? What's oh, that? He says, well, one night, a young girl, the wife of a Torah scholar, she came to the back door and she knocked on the door. And she said to me, talk to the madam to give me a job. I said, what am I to give you a job? You? You could see it. She's a good girl, clean girl from a good family. And just the way she looks, so pure. He said, what are you doing here? She says, the Romans captured my husband. And the Romans are accusing him of a crime and they're holding him for a ransom of 100 gold pieces. And she starts crying. And if I don't come up very soon with 100 gold pieces, they said, if I don't get there by Shabbat, they're going to kill my husband. And I don't have any other way to make a living. I don't have any other way. He says, no, you're not going to come in here. He says, I'm going to give you that. And you don't worry about it. So he locks her in his room. He says, you sleep here tonight. He took all his possessions. He had 1 year for a birthday. The girls gave him a golden pillow, a golden embroidered pillow. Another year, he had silk sheets. He took all the possessions he had in his life. And he went to all the pawn shops in Jaffa and sold everything except the shirt off his back. And he came back with 100 gold talents. and he gave it to the girl. He said, here, take your husband out of jail. So she paid the ransom, and it saved her husband. And the two Torah scholars, two students of Rabbi Lazer says, wow, do you know what it means? A person who saves a life saves an entire world. Not only did you save the life, you saved the purity of a Jewish girl, and picking shvuim, freeing a captive Jew. There's nothing greater, no greater mitzvah. Of course, Pentateuch, you have to give us a blessing. So Gemara tells us Pentateuch gave a blessing, and they came back to Rabbi Abba. Yes, we found him, and he's here, and he gave the blessing. That night, all the underground reservoirs in Eretz Yisrael that were dry for 3 years filled up. It rained, and it rained, and it rained, and there was water, and there was a bumper wheat crop. By virtue of whom? Pentateuch, the lowest of the low on the social and economical and socioeconomical and educational totem pole that could be the lowest of the low. That's what the Gemara tells us. Is there anybody who is on a lower disadvantage than Pentateuch? Please stand up. There's nobody. But we're taking our energies in the wrong direction. We're looking for the fanfare, where all our glory is far from the fanfare. Our glory is with Amunah, our glory with Hashem, our glory with doing whatever we could do to make ourselves better, to bring ourselves closer to Hashem, to make the world more moral. And we see right now, look what Hashem is doing. It is crazy what Hashem is doing. Just as in America, you've got all this thing with this black guy getting killed. Look in Eretz Yisrael, the same exact thing happened in Yerushalayim. It's an autistic Arab that was on the way to special ed school. That policeman did. The world is crazy. The world is evil. The world needs good. The world needs Torah. The world needs ethical people. And as ethical people, first of all, to improve ourselves. What does it mean to improve ourselves? And what's this coronavirus? Maybe a blessing from one of you. Okay, but to do, if you're faced with doing something that the fanfare for the people, or doing something that's right. Okay, maybe the girls say, no, don't be a prude. I tell you a story about one girl told another girl, oh, you look like a nib. That's what they say in New York, nibby. And in Eretz Yisrael, they call it yachnet. They say, yeah, you look nibby. The young lady refused to pull up her hemline for the girls. Okay, she was ostracized because she's nibby. She says, it could be that young lady give a bracha and it take away all the coronavirus. You can see she's doing what Hashem wants. We do what Hashem wants, and this is our greatness. And it doesn't matter whether we're doctor, lawyer, or Indian chief, carpenter, plumber, or bus driver. It does not matter. Hashem wants each of us and what we're doing to make the very best of ourselves. And you have to know you have the potential. But ask yourself, what does Hashem want from me? And ask Hashem, if you don't know, Hashem, what do you want from me? And there's greatness. You can find out. You want to talk to me. I wrote a book about Adam Feinberg, a little encouraging the path to your peak. You pick up that book, it's on Amazon. You pick it up and you get it. You don't even get it in print. Now, I'm not trying to sell my books. It's I feel embarrassed saying this. But if I would talk for another 4 hours, I would give the lessons and the stories in that book. Because each one of us is great. Each one of us has a talent that no one else has. And this is one of the reasons why it's forbidden to talk bad about another human being. Because that other human being has something I need to learn from. And if Hashem put me with Michael, I need to learn with Michael. If Hashem put me with David, I need to learn with David. If Hashem put me with Avigail, I need to learn from Avigail. And I need to learn from Elisa, and I need to learn from every single one. Because Hashem put together also for a reason. Also for a reason. And this we have to do. This is our path to greatness. Looking within ourselves and looking for the good in everyone else. So once again, I'm going to go through these 3 lessons again. I'm going to review them, and knock them down. By the way, I'm going to leave some time for questions. And I don't care if we go over time. We know nobody's looking at the watch. Okay, but Hashem, I have to do one thing. In Judaism, number 1, in Judaism, greatness is far from the fanfare. Greatness is with Hashem. Greatness is within my soul. When I discover in my own soul what I'm doing here, and that's greatness. And as soon as you want to do that, and you stop looking at the fanfare, you'll discover yourself, okay? Suppose you think, you're an amateur musician and you write songs, and one person gets tears in his eyes from the songs you're writing, gets closer to Hashem. You've got Gan Eden, my brother. You've got Gan Eden. When you think, oh, no, I'm not good enough, what does it matter what you're doing? A neighbor, you've got good hands, and a neighbor, she wants you to help hang a picture. Okay, so you hang a picture in the living room, and this makes her feel good, and she does a better job keeping Shabbos because of the picture. They put a nail in the wall. You don't know with the opportunities for greatness that Hashem gives every one of us. But we're busy looking about, what they're going to tell about us on Facebook. So when you say, I hung a picture for a neighbor, no. Second, perseverance makes you great. It's not the one-time mitzvah. Every day learning that daf of Gemara. Every day, it's not easy, it's not hard. Every day. And the third, don't forget that Hashem brings a person down or puts them in a low position like Pentatika. Because if a person, like we said, the son of a rich man, he gets rich, that's no big deal. But a self-made man, a self-made woman, when a person is far, far away from Hashem, born far away from Hashem, and he gets close to Hashem, that's a bigger sanctification of Hashem's name. And this is what the ball game is all about now, where there's so much chilul Hashem, so much defamation of Hashem's name, and you see people that, I have to be careful about that. I said I don't want to say invoke stern judgments to anybody. Heaven forbid. But those of us that look religious, it really behooves us. It really, really, really behooves us, because someone on the street doesn't know anything about us, but they see us as wearing the garb, and that's why we have to be smiles on our face. We have to be super polite, considerate, nice, and never say a bad word about anybody. And then you don't know, just by acting, you go up in Shemayim after 120 years, and they show you all these people that you brought close to Hashem. Say, what? I didn't work for the Lighthouse. I didn't work for Torah anytime. I didn't work for Arachim. No, you got to understand, wherever you went, you smiled at people. And some secular mother says, I want my daughter to be just like that woman. She is so together. She is so everything. She looks great. She looks like a princess. I want my daughter to be like that. Okay, she got advice. You could do so much good, but it's far from the fanfare. It's not what the newspapers write about you, and not what the CNN writes about you. So we know, and I know people still, Lazer just trying to make me feel good. Okay, really quick. Let's go through. I'm trying to make you feel good. Okay, the Gemara in the Dorian page 81 says, beware of the common folk. Beware of the common folk, because they are going to become the leaders of Torah. Ooh, not the sons of the Rebbes, not sons of Rabbi Shiva. Gemara in the Dorian 81. Beware of the common folk. That Gemara is repeated all through the Midrash. Okay, let's go to Yoma page 71. Yoma page 71 tells the story of Shmai and Avtalion. Shmai and Avtalion were walking down the street in Jerusalem. Shmai and Avtalion were the two heads of Israel. One was the president, one was the Sanhedrin. We learned about it in the first chapter in Pirkei Avot, Shmai and Avtalion. Okay, president. The high priest says, oh, Shalom Aleichem, to the sons of the nations of the world. In other words, hey, converts, I'm a highbrow from birth Cohen, and here you're the converts. So they said, Shalom Aleichem, from the converts that act like Aaron Cohen, to the son of converts that act like Aaron Cohen, to the son of Kohanim that doesn't act like Aaron Cohen. That's what they answered. That's right, we'll pay 70. It shows that they show the Gemara is laughing at the eyebrows and showing how the converts talk. A convert? Guess who Mashiach's great-grandmother is? King of Israel. We learned this on Shavuos. Ruth the Moabite, Ruth the Moabitess. Okay, now wait a second. Want something? The Gemara in Megillah 14b tells us who Jeremiah's great-grandmother was. okay, who hold to the prophets as her great-grandmother was. Baruch ben Neriah, Cohen, great-grand. Jeremiah was a Cohen. Baruch ben Neriah was a Cohen. Who was the great-grandmother? The Gemara mentions 8 prophets. And you know who the great-grandmother was? Rahav the prostitute. Rahav the prostitute, like Pentatika, she picked herself up from the bottom. Do you know who Rahav married? Moshe Rabbeinu's prime student, Joshua. Okay. And from out of that union came 8 prophets. 8 prophets, including Jeremiah, including Huldah. Look, there you go. It's a potential. When you look at what Hashem wants from you, Rahav, what was Hashem? Her greatness. She achieved her greatness from inside a brothel, just like Pentatika did. How did she save? What did she save the spies? Yeshua and Caleb. How did she save them? From inside her workroom. Okay, and the same tool, let's say this in lesson next week, about Shuva and Mishkal. To remember that. The same tool that she used to elevate her customers from the ground floor, this was her elevator, her rope that was hanging out of her window, she used to hide the spies. She took whatever power Hashem gave her, in this case it was a hemp rope, and she used it for Kedusha. She uplifted it from a tool of a prostitute to a tool of conquering Eretz Yisrael and saving the Jewish people. She became great. She became the grandmother, the great-grandmother of Jeremiah the prophet. Wow. Wow. I don't think there's anybody that's lower on the economic or educational totem pole than Rahav. So they have 2 examples, Rahav and Petatika. I go on with more Gemaras and more mentioning. If you don't yet feel good about yourself, and if you've got, heaven forbid, a sickness, or if you've got financial problems, or whatever it is, they come from a loving Father. It's not easy. It is certainly not easy. It is certainly not easy. But just stop and think. Where are your problems coming from? Loving Father in heaven. No one else. No one else. It's from Hashem. And Hashem is doing whatever he's doing to make you great. Because what Hashem does, how do you get olive oil? You put the olive seeds under tons and tons of pressure. How do you get orange juice? You squeeze the orange, fetch it, just squeeze it. Hashem is taking the greatness out of us. Okay, so if we search for our own greatness within our neshamas, within our connection to Hashem, like Rachav did, and like Pentatika did, who knows what we're going to do? And I'm sure there's not a person in watching this shiur that can't, if he doesn't speak, okay, rescind rescind because Hashem says what my son in London did, what my daughter in Chicago did, and what my son in Miami did, what my daughter in Houston did. No more coronavirus, no more riots, no more this, no more that. They'll have the power of doing it. But it's in ourselves. It's not on the Facebook and not on the Instagram, and certainly not on CNN and not on the Larry King show or whatever it is. That's it. It's in ourselves. These are the lessons we learned tonight. Okay, that from the low point we can rise to greatness and to persevere and far from the fanfare. Don't forget. Remind yourself all the time. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, great. Hashem made me great. Hashem gave me a neshama that's a tiny part of him. Okay, don't ever forget that. And you got my blessing, beloved brothers and sisters, that you should find true fulfillment and true satisfaction and go way beyond whatever you dreamed of achieving. You should be able to achieve it. Okay, you should be able to get yourself closer to Hashem, your family, all of Klal Yisrael, and you'll be the one to rebuild the Holy Temple and see Mashiach with your own eyes, be in our days. Amen. God bless. Time for someone wants to ask questions. Okay, if Michael or Vivian with us, you want to field questions. If somebody has a question, they could send a message to Michael Ben Melech, okay, or to Vivian Rousseau. Any questions?
First question I see here is coming from Elliot. How do I know my teshuvah has been accepted? What if I fall back to my old ways again?
Great question. Great question. First of all, take a boxer in the ring. The winning boxer, when they give him the golden belt, the championship, he's got a broken nose, he's got a black eye, he got hit. Okay, you fall back. But this is what Western society says. They go, your losses. Okay, oh, whoa, I looked at a woman today. How about the 30 times that you didn't, that you succeeded? Or you had a bad thought. How about the 32 times that you didn't? This is the Yetzer. The Yetzer shows you you're bad. That's it. Imagine the woman, she looks in the mirror and she sees, oy vey, it's a tragedy. What's a tragedy? She found a blackhead on her nose. Face me, the world's coming to an end. A blackhead on her nose. Excuse me, young lady, how many pores do you have in your body? 13, 14 million? Okay, 13, 14 million? One is clogged, or 13, 14 million. What about the other 13,990,999 that are not clogged? Okay, thank Hashem for them. Our tshuva is really, Elliot, our tshuva is really near finished. The reason you think that Hashem might not accept your tshuva is because life gets more and more difficult. Why is life getting more and more difficult? Okay, ask an athlete, a baseball player, okay, he played in the B-League minors, and he did really good, so they sent him up to an A-League team, and he did really good. They sent him to a AAA league team, and now he's in the major leagues. Wait a second, when he was in the minor leagues, he hit 350. Now in the major leagues, he hits 240. It's only fair, I'm terrible, I can't do. No, you're in a tougher league. Elliot, as you're going, if you're asking yourself that question, how do I know tshuva's been accepted? It means that you're working at tshuva. I can tell you tshuva's been accepted. You are now in a tougher league. You're in a higher madrega. So now you have new challenges. And in Parshas Tshuva in the Torah, with a command in the Torah says, Shuvu ad Hashem Elokecha. You return to Hashem. Okay, what's to? It says ad, not el, ad. Okay, so I go el. If the Torah said Shuv el Hashem, okay, I go in the direction of Hashem and I've done my thing. No, the Torah says you're not finished until you reach Hashem, reach the heavenly throne. Elliot, you're covering ground, but you still got a ways to go because Hashem knows you got a potential. As long as you're working, okay, you're learning, you're davening, you're doing your mitzvahs, you're keeping Shabbos, you're eating kosher, you're trying the best you can. You know how you know that your shuv is done? When you're a little bit better today than you were last week. Don't look at yourself that you fell yesterday. Look where you were last week. And I promise you that your failures of yesterday are bigger than your successes were 2 weeks ago. That's, you know. And you know your tshuva has been accepted because Hashem is picking you up and up and up and up and up. Okay? Next question, Michael.
The next question is, can you recommend any specific prayers to say daily to help with our teshuvah?
Okay. First of all, in the Shemona Esrei with Kavana. Okay. We ask Hashem of 2 back-to-back prayers. Okay. Hashivenu v'lo Torah secha. Hashem, bring us back to Torah. Some people have never been there, but maybe the neshama's been there. Bring us back to Torah. So bring it back to Torah, and we have to say with the heart, Hashem, really help me that I should love Torah. V'karvenu l'avodasecha, and bring us close to your work. Now we don't have the work as the korbanos, but since we don't have korbanos in this generation because we're on a base of Mikdash, that's our prayer. Hashem, give me a desire to prayer. If we want to pray with desire, we have to believe that there's Hashem. To believe with Hashem, we need a Munah. And Hashem, bring me back in Shuvah. This particular prayer, stop and ponder each third of the prayer. The first third of the prayer, Torah. The second third of the prayer, Tefillah. The third third of the prayer, Shuvah. And then after that, ask Hashem to help you, and then Slach. Wow. And really, Hashem, excuse me, help me get better. Help me get better. Then again, when you come to Shema Kulenu, and it's a free-for-all, you can add in whatever you want. I strongly said there's a prayer, you can see if anything you did wrong yesterday, don't persecute yourself. Hashem, I messed up yesterday. And do a little confessional in there, right there, and you're home free. And if you do, you put a dude, every day you do self-assessment, confession, then you're really, really flying. So one thing I suggest so much about personal prayer is that rather than prescribed prayers, because in a prescribed prayer, any prescribed prayer I give you will become routine after a week, and it's going to become a pain after a month. Okay, you're going to be sorry that you took it on. Now you have to go to the rabbi. Rabbi, need hataras nedorim. I got a nader. I've been doing this. That's the great thing about personal prayer. That's why I translate people who do this personal prayer, because it's automatic kavanah. Whatever you say in your own words, in your own language, in your New York accent, in your Houston, your Dallas drawl, whatever you say, it's going to be from the heart. Okay, if you say it in Brooklynese, okay, if you're London, whether you speak Cockney or you speak Lancaster, okay, whatever it is, it's your own words. Okay, that is the prayer I recommended. Whatever you can, whatever you can devote a day to personal prayer, to thanking Hashem, to assessing yourself, what I did in the last 24 hours, and to asking Hashem whatever you want. That is really, that's it. It's all the books. Chovis Levavos talks about it, and normally Melech talks about it, and of course Rabbi Nachman mentions it all through Likutei Moran. This is all the greats, and or Chaim Kadosh, everybody. And you can see Nefesh Chaim, Chaim Volozhner. Someone that thinks that personal prayer, people do this Breslover shtick, does not know Torah, because there is not a great whether Litvish. Open up the Yesod V'Shorish Avodah. There's no bigger Litvish and Musa Sefer. Everybody learns Rabbi Alexander Siskin classic work, the Yesod V'Shorish Avodah. Okay, and he talks about personal prayer. Wow, heavy duty. The Reishis Chochmah talks about it. Eliyahu Davidash was a Talmud of the Arizal, and this is a classic work of someone that really wants to serve Hashem. This is Reishis Chochmah. That's the book to learn. That's enriched nuclear fuel. Okay, so I would strongly suggest your own words every day. Every day is different, and not the same prayer, prescribed prayer. Okay, every day is different. There's advantages of prescribed prayer, like Tikkun HaKlali. Tikkun HaKlali is good for purification of the soul. But our Parshas Aman is wonderful for Parnasa. Things good for the health. We say that our Chazal in the Gemara say that if a person says Shirat Hayam every morning, like it says it with Kavanah, it's like you got Torah from Mount Sinai. There's lots. Every prayer is wonderful, but to start off with, I think start off with personal prayer. Okay, do your prescribed prayers, but at least you get a couple of minutes of prayer with perfect Kavanah from the heart, and that's what personal prayer is. Okay. Time for one more, Michael?
Yeah, the question here is, and I want to try my best to communicate it here. How do we encourage people when the world is falling apart, but Hashem is with us in all of it? But it says here, but I don't want to sound like I don't care about their worries. Sometimes I feel that I may be perceived as not caring about their worries. So essentially the person is basically saying, no, don't worry about it. Hashem is with us, Hashem is with us, but it sounds very like, whatever, So how do you encourage people in a positive way regarding what's going on?
Okay, first of all, that's a great question. If you want to influence anyone, this we learned from Aaron HaKohen. You heard me say in the lesson, when Aaron HaKohen would go in the Holy of Holies, he would feel the pain of all of Israel. And that's why he could atone for all of Israel. Right? First of all, we have to be able to empathize, sympathize, and feel the pain of every other human being. And this is light unto the nations. Okay, light unto nations. King David says about Hashem, Rachma v'kol masav. Hashem has compassion and pity for everyone. Okay, and that means politics don't go together with that. And putting myself in the cubbyhole where I separate myself from other groups, and you can see it's so ridiculous. And so this is only his Hasidim. We're not even talking about a Hasid, a Litvak, or Ashkenazi, or Sephardi. Within Hasidim, that there's insulated, this Hasidim only this, and this only our group. Hashem hates that. Hashem hates that. Yeah, you have your tribe, but we marry into each other's tribes and we care about one another. And this is so, so, so important. So we do care about another. But as we care about another person, you could feel their pain. And the Gemara says that a prisoner cannot let himself out of jail. Need somebody throwing a key. Okay, when you're looking at someone else's problem, maybe you don't always have your own problem, but oftentimes if you care about that person, Hashem will illuminate your eyes, illuminate your brain, or you could give that person some advice, some solution. Okay, and it's not a matter that you don't care what's going on in the world. Yeah, you do care about what's going on in the world. It does matter to me, and if you think that you're in Ashdod and you're here on the Riviera and that's fine, it doesn't matter to you that some Jew in Miami, that they're looting his store, and another Jew in LA, that they burned down his store. It doesn't matter. It does matter to you. It very certainly does. And if it doesn't hurt you, then you need a cardiac specialist to see if you've got a flesh and blood heart or a heart of stone. Okay, it does. But as soon as we feel another person's pain, we're walking in the way of Aaron HaKohen. And as soon as we walk in the way of Aaron HaKohen Gadol, we have the power to influence, we have the power to better the world. We cannot better the world if we're completely off. Well, what people think bettering the world is aggrandizing themselves, making more money, having more fame. It doesn't do anything in the world. You have to know, when we talk about tikkun olam means making the world a better place, which means that I have to find a common denominator. Now listen to this is crazy, okay? I'm not a rightist, I'm not a leftist, I'm not nothing. I'm an Amunah guy, okay? But when I talk pure Amunah, I have to understand the way a Hamas guy feels, the way the Hezbollah guy feels. And if people would do like that, you think it's not possible to make peace with Hamas and Hezbollah? Who makes Hamas and Hezbollah hostile? Hashem does. They're puppets of Hashem. As soon as we do what we're supposed to do, okay, everybody makes peace with us. This is what King Solomon says, Birtzot Hashem darkei ish, when Hashem is pleased with a person's ways, kam oivav yashlimu ito, even his enemies will reconcile with him. And that's tikkun olam. What do you make peace with? You make peace with your enemies. Okay, so doing all types of things and thinking only about myself and this and that, sure, we have to protect ourselves. We have to be strong. If somebody comes and they attack you, you have to know how to take care of yourself. Okay, that's fine. But you also have to know how to be able to smile at a person and how to be able to sit down and drink a cup of coffee with the person, how to be able to listen to another person. Listen to what hurts her, listen to what the other person. And if we do with the enemy, we certainly do with a brother and a sister. Okay. And that's, we do take an interest in the world. Okay. And that's how to influence and tikkun. I don't know if I exactly answered the question they wanted to hear, Michael, that they want to ask, but this is what I understood. And this is what Hashem put in my mouth. Okay. If somebody really wants to ask another question, I'm going to answer one more, okay?
From the chat, we are good.
Okay, good. I want to tell you, first of all, Michael and the whole staff at Lighthouse and everybody that's with us, just got the whole names. I keep getting to see when I flip it down just to see people. I'm davening for your everything you need for your health and your welfare, and it's so heartwarming to see people from all over. And bless everyone that's with us here at the Lighthouse and everyone here that's with us on Facebook Live, that you should have success and good health and all your heart's wishes for the best. You have nachas, and those that need refuah, they should refuah good health. Those that need their soulmates, they should get their soulmates this year. Should have a lot of wedding invitations this year and be able to get on planes and come to the weddings. Those that need good income should have adequate income, all the income you need. Those that need children should have wonderful children. And those that have shalom bayit, they have marital issues, should have great marriages, okay? And you should be able to find your greatness and your happiness. I pray for you that you should have unbelievable success. Hashem should give you success more than you ever imagined. And we look forward to seeing you, B'ezrat Hashem, next week here at Lighthouse together with the Moonbeams.
Thank you, Rabbi, so much. Everybody have a wonderful day. Hashem should bless you, Rabbi, with a long life of good health, happiness, and it really should give you everything you need, B'ezrat Hashem. You should be able to dance together when Mashiach arrives and redeem and shows himself to the whole world.